Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another video. So, we got the first reveals out of the next main booster set after Chaos Origin. That booster set is called Beyond the Brave, and the support cards that got revealed are from a very iconic Yu-Gi-Oh character, also from the Duel Monsters era, and that character is Joey Wheeler. So, it's been a while since Joey Wheeler got some cards from in general. It's actually been a very long time. And I think that they're going to keep doing this theme out of just supporting the main cast in like the Duel Monsters era. I want us to guess who's gonna be the next one. It could be My Valentine, it could be Taya Gardner, it could be Yami Bakura, it could be Tristan. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities that who is going to be on the next one. We already saw with the OCG that the first reveals out of Chaos Origin, the ones that are based on Yami Yugi, which are the Chaos Ritual monsters, they've been popping off in the OCG. That is one of the top tier contenders right now. So, can the next cards from Joey Wheeler fill in those shoes? Before we talk about the new cards, we're gonna look at some of the old iconic cards that are from Joey's team right here on the screen. You got Panther Warrior, you got Time Wizard, you got Red Eyes Black Dragon, which is a card that they got from Rex Raptor. You got the Alligator Sword Dragon, you got the Legendary Fisherman, which was adopted from Mako Tsunami. We got Jinzo that got adapted from Esparoba. You got Graceful Chase, Graceful and Skull Dice, which were Yugi's cards. You also got Scapegoat, you got Grave Robber, and you got Fairy Box. So, what is the possibility of getting a revamped version of these cards? Well, I mean, we got the revamped version of these cards already here on the screen. Now, can these cards fulfill the legacy of the old cards? Let's start with Swift Panther Warrior. So the original Panther Warrior needed to declare an attack by tributing a monster, which kind of makes it iconic for Swift Panther Warrior's effect. The first effect is during the main phase as a quick effect. You can tribute one other monster from your hand or field, then activate one of these effects. Special summon a monster that mentions Time Wizard from your hand or deck. Well, Dark Time Wizard specifically. We will talk about this card. Except Panther Warrior. Or send a spell trap that mentions the Dark Time Wizard from your deck to your graveyard. These other 9 cards all fulfill that condition. So it can either Foolish or Tutor any of those cards. So a few things about Panther Warrior. To mention, it tributes from hand or field to activate this effect. It means you can use this with Musurugi cards, you can use this with Ben 10. We will talk about Ben 10 a little bit later on. You can play clown cards with this, and this will also benefit the clown cards. This is searchable by Fire Formation Tenki, and there is another card that can search this, so it's very, very easy to get to this card. Whenever I see a card that just tributes monsters, I always have to look at cards like Fualas, because Fualas is a card that I don't want to see in my main deck unless I can just tribute it off or just fodder it off for other cards. And you can do that with Swift Panther Warrior. So, without the context of what the other 9 cards do, I'd say this is already a good effect. Also, because of this being a quick effect, this card can dodge Imperm, this can dodge FF Veiler. If it's the only card on the field, this can dodge Dominus Impulse as well. So, very, very good card. I have no qualms on what this card does. if your opponent tries to activate Full Loss before it's summoned, or when you normal summon this card, you can just play around the Mosh Army as well. So, not a bad card. This is a quick effect, so you can do it on your opponent's main phase as well, which can be very relevant if you're doing like Mitsurugi plays, like just firing off your Murakumos or dodging like stuff like Droplet or stuff like that. Yeah, really good start. So that's for Swift Panther Warrior. Now we're gonna talk about the most iconic card on the theme and the card that everything's based around, and that card is Dark Time Wizard. So Dark Time Wizard has two effects. The first effect is that it can add a card that mentions Dark Time Wizard. So it can add the Panther Warrior, and it can add everything else. And then during the end phase, you can grab itself back from the graveyard. So this has really good recurability. This being a quick play spell means that you can play Radiant Typhoon Vision with this card as well. This is one of the most important cards in the theme, so you want to get to this card as soon as possible. The second effect is basically Time Wizard's effect. You just try to call a coin, like flip it, destroy monsters. So this can be either Raigeki or reverse Raigeki. I don't dislike this effect on this card. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. So if you draw multiples, you can do the Raigeki effect and then do the add effect, or vice versa. Very, very versatile card. I think this card is really good for the theme. Now let's go to Alligator Sword Dragon Knight. So you can only use each effect once per turn. If this card's in your hand, you can reveal one other card in your hand that mentions Dark Time Wizard. So it can even reveal Dark Time Wizard, just bringing that up. And special summon this card. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add up to 2 spell traps with different names from each other that mentions Dark Time Wizard. And then discard one card. Very iconic search effect. Like, a lot of search effects have this discard clause. I'm not even gonna bring up like the cards that you can discard with this. I'm just gonna mention something else. So this card is tutorable out of Armed Dragon level 5 and Tempest. I will bring up Tempest a little bit later on. This card is also tutorable by the Dark Time Wizard. This is a level 5 monster, so you can use this with K9 cards. And this is a wind attribute, so you can play Dominus Purge. Right now, the 2 biggest important monsters are the Sword Knight and the Panther Warrior, and those are Earth and Wind. So you can play you can play Dominus Purge in this deck. Really, really good card. Now let's go back here. Let's talk about Fisherman Legend of the Sea. So if your opponent activates a monster effect on the field or when they declare an attack, and Yumi or a card that mentions Dark Time Wizard is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it, also return this card to the hand during the end phase. So very iconic to the original Fisherman. This is level 4, so it's easier to summon than the other ones. This having the trigger condition on your opponent's activations is really neat. It's also pretty cute and flavorful that they added Umi for this card, which means you don't have to play this just in the Time Wizard deck. But ideally, you will play this in this deck. I'm not the biggest fan of all of its effects as a whole. I think this card could have better applications besides just being a monster pop. So far, this is the weakest card out of all of them. I don't know if you would run this card. But it is kind of a hand trap. You can use this on your opponent's turn. And just like jump scare it on the field if you already have an established board. Now let's go to Jinzo Energy Chakra. So you can only use each effect once per turn. This card names becomes Jinzo while on the field and graveyard. This is really iconic because there are Jinzo clones and there are some Jinzo upgrades that you can play in this deck if you play the Energy Chakra. Take note, you can special summon the Jinzo with the Panther Warrior. So getting to this card is not that hard at all. If this card's normal special summon, you can destroy all traps your opponent controls, or if a card, you just reveal the sets. That way you can check the trap cards. Your opponent cannot activate traps or effects while you have another monster on your field or graveyard that mentions Dark Time Wizard. This is really good because it means that against back row decks, you can summon the Swift Panther Warrior, tribute it off, summon the Jinzo, and upon Jinzo's summon, your opponent cannot do anything about the Jinzo with the trap cards. So this deck already has a strong Labyrinth matchup. It already has a great matchup against Trap Jet decks in general, just because of this application. Also, your opponent can activate your traps or effects. You can still activate yours. We will talk about other applications of this against your opponent. Now let's go to Graceful Skull Dice. So this card is essentially Graceful Dice and Skull Dice as a card. It has both effects. And you apply those effects in sequence. It is RNG based, which is, well, not the happiest thing to think about, especially since the Dark Time Wizard is also a gambling card. However, you can do this in the damage step. And depending on your rolls, you can get a massive boost to your monsters as well as a massive decline to your opponent's monsters. The other effect is, if your opponent normals or special summons a monster while this card's in your graveyard, you can banish this card, target one of those monsters, roll a 6-sided die twice, and if the total is 6 or higher, destroy that monster. So the RNG on this card is a little less strict because you get to do 2 die rolls. But more important than that, none of these cards' effect are once per turn. So if you have like 3 Graceful Skull Dice in your graveyard, each time your opponent summons, you can just keep banishing this card, keep throwing dice, and eventually you'll get like a summon pop, which is very annoying for your opponent to deal with. Reminder, you can add that card and then discard it with Alligator Sword Dragon Knight. So this already is a graveyard interruption, which is not the easiest thing your opponent can play around. And if you have multiple of these like in your field and graveyard, you can just keep flipping these cards, keep like reducing attack, boosting attack, and just banish them all in your graveyard, and just keep trying to roll dice like a billion times, and just keep doing stuff to your opponent. So this card is kind of mediocre, but the fact that it is not once per turn already gives it a merit for playing. And the graveyard effect is kind of neat. Your opponent just kind of have to play the game knowing that they can be at the mercy of this card. Next, you have Sleeping Scapegoats, which is, you know, regular Scapegoat but boosted. You summon 4 tokens. Then, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon 1 Swift Panther Warrior from your deck. Also, for the rest of his turn, these tokens cannot be tributed for a tribute summon. Also, use special summon from the extra deck. You can only special summon fusion monsters from the extra deck. Really good lock. If they didn't have this lock, you could have just go link summon crazy with it. In the past, Scapegoat was used as a link summon tool. So there is a world where you can do the same thing as old Scapegoat. Just flip this on your opponent's turn. On your opponent's turn, after you flip it, you can summon the Panther Warrior with this. And then just summon the Panther Warrior. Panther Warrior can tribute a card. And then with the Panther Warrior, just summon like any of these, like on your opponent's turn. Like you can do Scapegoat summon the Panther, Panther, summon the Alligator Sword, Alligator Sword, add the Graceful Skull dice, pitch it for your graveyard, and you already have an interruption on, against your opponent. And the tokens cannot be used as a tribute summon for a tribute summon, but you can still do the tokens. You can still tribute the tokens for other cards, like for example, enemy controller, or like two-pronged attack, stuff like that. Also, you can use these tokens as fusion material. Like, I cannot think off the top of my head what you can do with this, but let's say you're playing like a complete fusion deck, like branded or stuff like that. You can use these tokens as material for your branded monsters, your Chimera monsters, like stuff in general. So there's a world where you just play this deck mixed with Chimera or branded or both, and just activate the sleeping scapegoats as like fusion fodder. Now we got Foolish Grave Robber. This card sends a card that mentions Time Wizard from your deck to your graveyard, except Foolish Grave Robber. Then you can special summon a monster from either graveyard to your field. You can banish this card from your graveyard, set one of these cards to your field, as well as a trap from your graveyard that mentions Dark Time Wizard, except the Grave Robber, or a spell and trap in your opponent's graveyard. This card's fantastic. This card is way better than the old Grave Robber. Like, the old Grave Robber only grabbed your opponent's spells, and you had to pay for it. You can use the spell. You can use the spell if you pay the damage, but this card is just strictly a lot better, even if you can't use the spell right away. This also reborns a monster. It can reborn any monster from any graveyard. If we learned anything out of Fall on the Virtuous and its effect in the grave to like take your opponent's monsters from the graveyard, that effect is already really broken in that card. So just having a card that can just do that in general is already really good as a gimmick. Also, the graveyard effect of this card, you can use it the same turn it's sent to a graveyard. So after you just take an opponent's card or just whatever, you can just banish and set like another spell trap from your opponent, or just like do something else with it. Really good card. The fact that this is searchable out of the Time Wizard and the Alligator Sword is already like an annoying card your opponent has to play around or has to think about. This essentially can just be a graveyard disruption against your opponent. So if your opponent is playing something like Mitsurugi or playing something that like involves like your graveyard, you can just use this card and just take it. So we got Reversal Box. Once per turn during the standby phase, you roll 6-sided dice. The dice result will be counters for this card. Once per battle, if an opponent monsters attack, or during that damage calculation, this detail is very important. Or when opponent's monster is activated on your opponent's field, you can take a counter, toss a coin, call it. If you're right, you can special summon a monster that mentions Dark Time Wizard from your deck, and if you do, until the end of this turn, change whatever monster your opponent tries to activate to 0. Also, its effects are negated. This is my second least favorite card out of the bunch. I think this and the Fisherman really don't have a right to see play. This is supposed to be an upgrade to Fairy Box, but there are some things about Fairy Box that I like more than that other card. The first thing I like about Fairy Box is you can flip Fairy Box in the damage step. And yes, it is RNG based, but you just jump scare your opponent with this card, and if you get the result right, you just blow out your opponent with this card. I do like that this can negate, and it is minimum at least one activation. This is very similar to the Graceful Skull Dice, but the main difference is this is a lot easier to play around than the Graceful Skull Dice, and the RNG on this card is way higher than the RNG of Graceful Skull Dice. So I'm really not a fan of this card. I don't think this card will see a lot of play. Now, the last card to talk about is Red Eyes Black Dragon Exceed. So the materials are Red Eyes Black Dragon or a monster that mentions Dark Time Wizard. So must either be fusion summon or special summon from the Asteroid by tributing one face-up monster on either field. During the turn a monster was destroyed by the effect of Dark Time Wizard. You can only special summon Black Dragon Exceed once per turn this way, no matter which method you use. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon one level 8 or lower monster for your hand or graveyard. This card is unaffected by your opponent's activated monster and spell effects. So, on paper, on the surface, this card doesn't sound that strong. However, there are some things that you can do with this card that are very worth mentioning. The effect to summon a level 8 or lower monster does not restrict anything you summon. So, yeah, you can summon these. And before you ask, is it really conventional and is it really worth you trying to go out of your way to get to like Christia locking with this? Remember the Cyber Angel Benten that we mentioned earlier? You can tribute this with the Panther Warrior, and this will search your Archlord Christia. So you already have reached Christia into rotation before you get to your Black Dragon Exceed summon. Adding to that, this Black Dragon Exceed monster is unaffected by activated monster and spell effects. Take note, you can still get hit by trap cards, so Dominance Impulse and Imperm are still fair game against you. But stuff like Droplets, stuff like Ghost Bell, those cards really don't hurt you. And yes, you can get hit by trap cards, but reminder, you can summon the Jinzo at any point, and the Jinzo would just shut down the trap cards. So it's almost as if this is unaffected by almost everything, if you think about it. So yeah, you can't Christia lock your opponent with this. The summoning method is a little bit steep because you have to activate Dark Time Wizard and pop a card. But you can also summon it by fusion summoning it. You can play Red Eyes Fusion. You can play a Primite Engine and just tutor yourself with the Black Dragon. You can search the Red Eyes with the Tempest. And I already brought up how Tempest can add the Alligator Sword Dragon. This can also add Fradalis Harmonia. This can also do a lot of other things. So there are some cute quirks and gimmicks that can get you to the Black Exceed Dragon. And if you get to Exceed and Jinzo and you get to summon Christia, I think that's really hard for your opponent to deal with. Because you're basically facing a Christia that you cannot imperm. Other things about this deck to mention is handtraps in general are just not that good against this deck. Like, yes, Ash Blossom is very effective against the Panther Warrior and the Alligator Sword Dragon, but you can only negate one of these with the Ash. You cannot negate both of them. Unless you activate Sleeping Scapegoat, you should realistically not get to Nibiru range in this deck, so Nibiru is not really an option against you. Droll and Lockbird can do something against you, but during the turn, you should be able to successfully resolve both Dark Time Wizard and Alligator Sword Dragon Knight. If you go for Alligator Sword Dragon Knight first, this can add the Dark Time Wizard, and this is a quick play spell, so you can chain it to a Droll and Lockbird. And if you open the Dark Time Wizard, you can activate this on your draw phase, which means you are already playing around Droll and Lockbird. Because of Jinzo, yeah, you don't have to worry about Impulse, you don't have to worry about Dominus cards or Imperms. so that's also really strong against you. Like, that's not really that strong against you. Fua probably won't give you that many draws. Like, you're probably summoning from Panther Warrior, but that's about it. Like, you don't have to do too much in this deck. You can just go Panther Warrior, add the Graceful Skull Dice, and add like the Grave Robber trap, and just set the trap, discard the Graceful, and that's already a few interruptions your opponent has to deal with. Again, this deck does not have real locks, so you can play Mitsurugi with this, you can play Branded, you can play like Chimera, you can play like a lot of different avenues with this strategy. Now, is this strategy as good as the support from Ritual of Light and Darkness? I don't think so. I think the Ritual support is way stronger than this, but the flexibility behind this deck and the fact that not many hand traps hurt you is already something to look into when it comes to Joey's theme. And who knows, maybe somebody will be creative and do like degenerate stuff with this stuff. Like, again, you shouldn't ignore the fact that this can get you to this, and this is still, for some reason, DCG legal. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoy this. Are you as big as a fan as Joey Wheeler, as yours truly? I'll be very honest with you. Joey Wheeler is not one of my favorite characters from the Duel Monsters era. You probably won't guess who my favorite character from the Duel Monsters era is. If they do mention future support for them, I will mention it. But until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.